In today's video, we take a look at some of the minis, dice, and other wargaming loot we purchased at GenghisCon 41. Well, hey everybody, this is Lee from skirmishwargames.com. Welcome. And if you saw our last video, that was our trip to GenghisCon 41, which is a tabletop gaming convention that's been here in the Denver area for quite some time. And we went down there in February, the 15th through the 18th, 2018, to check everything out. And one of our favorite things, in addition to the gaming and the RPGs and the miniatures room and all the other special events, is the vendor area. And God knows we don't need any more dice or figures, but that doesn't stop us. So we did budget a little bit of money to go and see if there were some things we couldn't live without. So let's take a look at what we got here. One of the places we stopped was a local place called Corinne Games. And what he was doing, among other things, was taking these HeroClix figures, these little soldier guys, whether they were AIM agents or Skrulls or Hydra agents, and breaking them up, and so you had a huge army of each of them that were just $1 a piece. And so you could go ahead and fill out if you just needed characters for any kind of generic sci-fi game. You can use them on their HeroClix bases, or we're going to eventually pull them off their bases and rebase them in case we need some generic bad guys. We also spent quite a bit of time at the Chessex booth, and as you can tell, I like different colored D6s. Can't get enough of them.
So my favorite part at the Chessex booth was the pick your own dice bin, where you could take individual dice, or what Lee did is just take a cupful for $9, which is what he got here. You see a lot of the stone pattern ones and some of the solid colored ones.
A random cupful. You just have to scoop. You don't get to pick.
So in the morning, I stopped by and did the individual dice for 30 cents because I wasn't going to get a bunch. But I did find this really cool one with the nuclear pattern on it. So as we were walking through the vendor area again in the afternoon, I couldn't resist. And I had to look for more of the special D4s. I did find one with a dragon on it, one with some archaic writing on it, and another one with a plant on it. And of course I found some other ones. I did the pick your own scoopful, which is 13. I like the swirled pattern ones, so I have a lot of those in there, all with various patterns in them.
It's definitely more colorful than my scoop.
Yes, definitely more colorful.
We also picked up some other things at the Chessex booth, including these kind of handy markers. I think these are bingo tokens. But anyway, these plastic tokens and these wood tokens are not expensive, and they're sure handy when you're doing a game and you need to remember who's been wounded, who's running away, who's out of ammunition, who's dead, who is poisoned, whatever. We already have some of these kind of in-house here, but never hurts to have a few more. And then I like these big dice here. Not really practical for rolling, but we're getting to the age where we can't necessarily remember what turn we're on anymore. So it's nice to have a little reminder if you have an involved game. It's like, where are we? So that's what we got those for, and they make a nice, satisfying thump when you plunk them down on the table. And then I went and got one of these little figure carrying cases, only 14 capacity, but just enough to pack a few figures and some dice in and throw it in the backpack and go have a game. So I figured that would be pretty utilitarian. One of the other booths that we stopped by was Game Science, and they've been around for a long time. And if you saw the last video, they had a huge selection of old magazines and gaming rule sets and other things like that going back to the 80s. This here is Game Science's revised version of Teagle Manor, which was an old D&D module from back in the day, which was kind of the ultimate haunted house scenario. So this was out in about 1989 is when he came up with this one. And here is actually my original copy of Teagle Manor from 1977, and this was produced by Judges Guild. So this kind of takes this old module and expands upon it. So as you can see, it was a pretty extensive module. I'm not sure how compatible it is with the latest versions of Dungeons & Dragons, but still definitely worth a look. The other thing I thought was kind of a kick was, here's the module. This revised version of Teagle Manor came out with a 1996 Game Science catalog or price list or whatever you want to call it, and you can see how much things have changed in the last 20 years. This is, the internet was around during this time, but it wasn't really used much for commercial purposes yet. So this is what you got when you were ordering games and such. These demon dice, well, they're either demon dice or maybe orc dice. depending on how you look at it. But I had bought a pair of these, God, I don't know, a long time ago. So it was interesting to see them for sale again. So I picked up 2 at $1 a piece. And then here, this was kind of just a neat retro thing. An old packet of dice, again from 1986. So you can see how things looked back then. And I remember this time and place. So yeah, Game Science, check them out. Another booth that we spent quite a bit of time at was Figure Fanatics, and they're also a company that's here in the Denver area. And what they do, among other things, is take Dungeons & Dragons and Pathfinder figure packs and kind of break them up so that you can buy individuals. And they have an eBay store and an Amazon store, and we see them at a lot of the local conventions and things.
So one of the things he found was this incredibly weird viper vine critter.
Yeah, do you guys ever see the old movie Tremors? That looks like one of the graboids from Tremors.
He also found this really interesting undead owl bear.
Yeah, one of the neat things about Figure Fanatics is if you're playing specific games and you just need characters or monsters for that particular game, then you can pick out the individual figure that you need. Like, we got a rule set from a company that produces a game called Purgatory, but it's Angels and Demons. So we picked up that guy so we can test drive the Purgatory rules. And then these totems, I forget where he said they came from, but these are great for just like instant scenery, just to kind of round out a gaming table. And that would be good for a Space Marine scenario, to a fantasy scenario, to a post-apocalyptic scenario, to a horror scenario. So yeah, those are kind of neat too. So tell me about your little dragons here. What was the deal with these guys?
So I collect dragons, so when I saw these guys, they kind of caught my eye. Got a metallic look, even though they're actually made out of resin. And they're pretty detailed as well, and the paint job's pretty good on them.
So that was your big splurge?
That was my big splurge. You can use them as like background or terrain, or just on the shelf for looks.
Yeah, very nice. Speaking of terrain, we weren't going to buy a whole lot of terrain, but we stopped by the Warlord Games booth, and they had some pretty neat stuff. I picked up this ruined farmhouse that we're going to paint up. And again, this is pretty utilitarian in that that building could be a fantasy building, it could be a World War II building, it could be a post-apocalyptic building. And so, you know, once we paint it up, we can use it in a lot of different types of games. The samurai set here was designed for a game called Test of Honor, which we saw Warlord demonstrate out of GenghisCon. And then here is one sort of a sci-fi building for Beyond the Gates of Antares. I was a little hesitant about getting into building these because I have a lot of unbuilt terrain that I need to work my way through. But Lynn promised that she would build and paint these. Is that still the deal?
That is still the deal.
Well, thanks for watching, everybody. We hope you enjoyed this look at our chest of wargaming loot from GenghisCon 41. If you like our content, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, give us a big thumbs up, and or visit us online at skirmishwargames.com.